Episode 1. What is law, really? We are born into a world already mapped out by rules we never voted for. From the moment we take our first breath, we're inside a network of rules. They tell us what you can own, where you can live, what you can ingest, even which words can be said without punishment. We call this network law, but rarely do we stop to ask what that word really means. Most people imagine a law as something fixed, a stone tablet, a traffic sign, a statute book, but law is not a single thing. It's a living framework of agreements, threats, and promises constantly rewritten by whoever holds the pen. Human societies have always had rules. Anthropologists find evidence in customary law. In the earliest clans and tribes agreed upon ways to settle disputes, allocate land, and punish harm. These weren't written codes, they were living norms, enforced by elders or collective action. The famous Code of Hammurabi is often cited as the birth of law because it was one of the first to be carved in stone. But even that was a political act. Carving rules into rock doesn't make them eternal. It just gives them the appearance of permanence. Jump to Rome and law becomes a weapon of the empire. Roman legal concepts like citizenship or property were exported across conquered lands, not because they were universal truths, but because they made administration easier. Even then, law was not the same for everyone. Citizens had rights, slaves did not. That tension, law as a tool for fairness versus law as a tool for hierarchy, runs like a fault line through history. Modern states inherited that double face. On paper, law is supposed to be neutral, a system of general rules applied equally to all. In practice, it reflects the priorities of those who can shape it. When you hear phrases like rule of law or no one is above the law, it sounds like a promise. But who writes the rules? Who interprets them and who enforces them? Those questions are more revealing than the text of any statute. Think about taxes, zoning, and licensing. They're presented as technical matters, but they are also moral choices. They determine which industries thrive, which communities are displaced, and which behaviors are criminalized. In the 20th century, laws once used to regulate corporations were gradually rewritten under the banner of free markets. In the 21st, corporate lobbying often writes the first draft of bills that legislators later vote on. The form, a law passed by Parliament, stays the same. The substance, whose interests it serves, shifts. That's why the law can feel like a double-edged sword. On one edge, it protects you from theft, from violence, from arbitrary detention. On the other edge, it can be used against you to extract taxes, to control your body, to punish dissent. The same statutes that grant rights can impose duties that you never chose. This is not a conspiracy theory, it's a structural fact. Law is both shield and spear. Yet law also evolves. Movements for civil rights, indigenous sovereignty, labor protections, and environmental safeguards have all used the legal system to push for change. Sometimes the only way to change an unjust rule is to invoke another rule. This paradox that you must use the master's tool to dismantle the master's house is part of the story of law itself. So what is law, really? It's not a book, a building, or a judge's gavel. It's an ongoing negotiation between power and legitimacy. It's the choreography of social life written in the language of obligation. And it's far less stable than it looks. Countries present themselves as timeless and sovereign, but their legal systems are constantly under construction. Every statute is a choice, every precedent a story told about the past to justify a decision in the present. We're told that laws keep chaos at bay, and in many ways that's true. But chaos for whom? Order for whom? In a globalized economy, the same legal principles that protect investors can leave communities unprotected. Citizenship, once a shield, can become a sorting mechanism. Even the idea of a nation begins to blur, looking less like a community and more like a corporation managing assets. This episode isn't about rejecting law. It's about seeing it clearly. If we understand law as a living framework shaped by competing interests, then we can ask better questions. Who benefits from this rule? Who pays the price? What alternatives exist? These are the questions that open the door to change. In the coming episodes, we'll dive deeper. We'll look at how laws are manipulated, how nations behave like corporations, and how citizens are turned into commodities. But first, let's take a moment to reflect. Every rule we follow today was written by someone. The law isn't just out there. It's in here, in the assumptions we carry, in the choices we think we're allowed to make. Seeing that is the first step to changing it.